a bad energy. Miss me with the negativity. I saw me sight after delivery. Me jump up in a prosperity. Duck, sight, skip to the left, that them on the right. Duck.
That is the music of Grammy Award-nominated Spice. The Jamaican-born artist is known around the world as the Queen of Dancehall, and her songs have been streamed hundreds of millions of times. She's got millions of followers on social media after her home country got walloped by Hurricane Melissa last month. Spice organized relief efforts through her Grace Hamilton Foundation, giving people care packages and clothing. She also rented 10 trucks filled with materials to help rebuild dozens of homes in the hardest hit areas.
One of the trucks that you've seen with the block, the cement, the steel, the zinc, the tool before, the plyboard, to start back their foundation. So let them see, show them where the empty land was, where the foundation, where the house was. So this is what is left from Hurricane Melissa. And it's a large family that used to be here that lost their home.
Spice joins me now from Miami, Florida. Spice, whose real name is Grace Hamilton. That's where the Grace Hamilton Foundation comes from. First off, thank you so much for all that you've done on the ground.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
So for people that haven't been there, describe what it's like right now on the streets of Jamaica.
It's devastating for me. The first time I went to Jamaica, I cried. Just knowing the lush greenery that used to be home, the tropical beaches, the trees that is now falling to the ground, the light posts, like half of the island is still without electricity. And just to explain to you, Jamaicans are a group of people that they're very prideful. So when I went especially to the country areas and I was giving out the relief packages to see how they were eager to just get food and water, it broke me into a million pieces just to see my home country in such a devastating state. So for me, I feel like one of the driving past, I kept asking, why are the trees like that? Who cut the trees? Because it's like the trees were just broken, torn up. It's really bad. People are homeless right now. A lot of people lost their home. Like, people are just sleeping outside. It's really hard to witness my people going through what they're going through right now. It's extremely bad.
So talk about your decision to step up and some of what you've done now on the ground.
Most people know me. I have a foundation called the Grace Hamilton Women Empowerment Foundation. I started that in 2018. I too was once homeless, and so my slogan is from homeless to greatness. So because I know what it feels like to not have anywhere to sleep, I really just jumped at the thought of, okay, it's okay to give food and everything, but there's children right now that is homeless. So the first I came together with my team and I wanted to donate building supplies so that people who lost their homes can start a foundation just to restore their hope, because a lot of these families have built their homes for years. It took them years to really accomplish these homes. And so I know for a fact that a lot of people just feel hopeless. So I wanted us to give them back hope. And so I went down, I rented like 10 trucks and I brought like building supplies with blocks and steel and cements and zinc and anything that I could find that would give them hope that they could build back their house and start. So I have this thing right now with my foundation where I'm saying we're building back Jamaica one house at a time.
We've been looking at some video of people's just giant smiles when you arrive and giant hugs for you. Talk about what it feels like to feel that love back and to watch people feel hope for the first time in a long time.
Well, you know, think about these people who got cut off from society. A lot of them couldn't talk to their family. The trees blocked the roads. You know, most of the supermarket that they had with food and stuff was shattered. The hospitals are damaged. The airport, most of the places. And so they haven't seen people, you know, for a while. So when a lot of artists, just like myself, you know, started to come together and push through to go up there to see them, that's the joy that they feel like, we remember them. We are here with them. It's just telling them that, listen, together we're stronger. We're going to do this together. We're going to build back Jamaica. So it was just that rush of hope, a sense of hope. And just to see someone of my caliber coming to them, just to hug them. Sometimes a hug goes a long way. So to everyone that has been praying for my country, I really appreciate it a lot. And I would encourage people to continue to help Jamaica. There's so many different links. So many people have stepped up to help. So I feel like that just gives them hope and put a smile on their face because they know that we're in this together.
And they feel seen. You can see it on their faces that they feel seen by
Absolutely.
you. So people that are watching this right now from all over the world that say, I want to help, what's the best thing they can do to help? Where's the greatest need?
The best thing they can do to help, in Jamaica, we have a term that say, every mickle make a muckle and one cocoa full basket. So it doesn't matter how small it is, even if it's just a prayer, Jamaica needs it. But if they have food supplies, if they have tarpaulin, if they have clothing, because a lot of these people, they don't have nothing. So think about someone who literally have nothing. You can donate as little bit as just, food supplies, clothes. My foundation is donating buildings because, again, I know that these people need the houses. And if they want to donate, my foundation is the Grace Hamilton Foundation. They can follow us on social media. The information is there on my page at Spice Official, which is my page. I keep posting, ways that they can donate. The government in Jamaica also have a website if they want to go to the government website's official. So many other artists and people have so many ways to donate in Jamaica. But what I can tell you, if you want to help as little as it is, Jamaica, they will really appreciate it. You can help in whatever way you can.
Well, Spice, I got to say, I love the beats of your music. It's so fun to dance to. And as great as you are as an artist, you're clearly even better as a human being. Thank you for stepping up when people really need you.
Thank you so much. I respect that. Thank you so much.
We'll be right back with more of The Story Is. Stay with us.
Your cousin is sleeping outside tonight in Kingston. Your friend's mother lost everything she spent 20 years building, and you're posting aesthetics, Caribbean vacation pics like nothing happened, guys. Is that really? It's crazy. Hurricane Melissa didn't just destroy infrastructure in Jamaica, it destroyed dignity. Half the island is still without electricity. Hospitals are damaged. People who pride themselves on self-sufficiency are literally begging for food and water. But here's what already broke me, by the way. The diaspora response has been fractured, and some of us are mobilizing, yes. Others are silent, and some we're just complicit in the silence because we are too comfortable, too disconnected, or frankly too busy curating our lives on social media to acknowledge that our people are still in crisis mode. And this is not about guilt, it is about clarity, because when you understand what Hurricane Melissa actually meant for Jamaica, you realize it exposed something we've been avoiding: the gap between diaspora identity and diaspora responsibility. And closing that gap, that's the real work. I want you to stick around because we're going to talk about why Spice Grace Hamilton is doing what politicians can't, why the diaspora's response matters more than foreign aid, and what your role actually is in rebuilding Jamaica. This is it's not charity, this is family business. So stick around, let us get into this thing, guys. So have you ever had in that moment you realize you've been living in two realities at once? And for me, it hit watching Spice Grace Hamilton break down about visiting Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa. And this is a woman who made it out, Grammy nominated artist, successful, built a foundation called From Homeless to Greatness, because she knew homelessness. She had agency, right? She had resources, and still, when she got back to Jamaica and saw what Melissa did, she said it broke her into a million pieces. Think about that for a moment. Not figuratively, actually broke, because what she was seeing was not abstract infrastructure damage or a natural disaster statistic. She was seeing how people she knew sleeping outside, families that had spent years, sometimes decades, building homes that were erased in hours. Hospitals were damaged, electricity gone from half the island, supermarkets shattered, and what hit hardest, Bright guys, Jamaica's place where people pull themselves up, they hustle, they figure it out. But after Melissa prayed for people who are desperate for food and water, that's not a natural disaster, guys. That's a civilization being reset. Let me be clear about what we're discussing here. Hurricane Melissa was not just a storm, it was a reset button pressed on an entire island. Half of Jamaica, half is still without electricity. Light poles are down across the island. Roads are blocked by fallen trees, cutting people off from society, from family, from commerce. The airport was damaged. Most supermarkets were shuttered, meaning food infrastructure collapsed. Hospitals are damaged, so people can't even access basic healthcare when they're traumatized and injured. But the infrastructure damage, that's almost secondary to what actually broke people. The housing crisis, hundreds, maybe thousands of families lost their homes. And I want you to sit with this. These were not just renters or people in temporary situations. These were homes that families had built, homes that poured sweat and money and hope into for years, decades in some cases, gone, and now they're sleeping outside. The psychological impact of that can't be overstated. When you lose a house, you lose more than walls. You lose the symbol of your progress, your proof that you made it, your foundation, literally and metaphorically. And in Jamaica, where self-reliance is cultural identity, losing your home is not just a material loss; it is an identity crisis. People were cut off from each other, no electricity, no communication infrastructure. Families couldn't find each other. They were isolated in the devastation. And here's where the desperate connection matters a lot because many of us watching this have family there, cousins, aunts, friends from high school, people who built their lives on that island where we built ours elsewhere. And suddenly they're not posting on Instagram anymore. They're not reachable. And when they are they are describing a reality that feels apocalyptic compared to the aesthetic Caribbean content we consume. So here's the uncomfortable truth. The diaspora's initial response was fragmented. Some of us mobilized immediately. Artists like Spice didn't wait for a government response or an NGO framework. She got 10 trucks filled with building materials, blocks, cement, steel, zinc, tools, plywood, and started building homes, not as charity, but she took it as a duty. But many of us, we scrolled past it, we posted thoughts and prayers, we felt sad and moved on to the next trending topic. Why? Because diaspora identity is complicated. We've left, we've built new lives, we've hopefully achieved economic stability or at least proximity to it, and that success comes with a psychological tax. There is guilt, disconnection, identity friction. So sometimes we cope by creating distance, by treating the home country as something we visit and somewhere we're responsible for. But Hurricane Melissa stripped that fiction away because when your cousin is sleeping outside, thoughts and prayers ain't a response, they are an insult dressed in comfort. The real response, the one Spice modeled, is immediate, material, and rooted in something deeper than charity, recognition. When she visited Jamaica and distributed those care packages, donated building supplies, and showed up physically, she was saying something crucial. I see you. You're not forgetting. You're not abandoned. We still family. We're still together. And the response from Jamaicans, Spice described it as pure hope, like giant smiles, giant hugs, a rush of hope because someone from the diaspora, someone who made it out, came back and said, "We are building back Jamaica one house at a time." Right? That matters because it's a refutation of a lie many Jamaicans internalize that when you leave, you don't come back. That success means forgetting where you came from. So here's something that gets lost in disaster relief conversations. Hope is not just emotional; it is material. When the Grace Hamilton Foundation donated building materials, they weren't just giving blocks and cement. They were giving people the ability to believe that rebuilding was possible, that their homes could return, that their identity as builders, as providers, could be restored. Spice understood this because she'd been homeless. She knew that homelessness is not just about having no shelter, it is about invisibility, it's about being erased from a society, and the inverse, being seen, being remembered, being invested in, is transformative. So when the GHF, that is Grace Hamilton Foundation, said we are building back Jamaica one house at a time, it wasn't a slogan. It was a promise that said your home matters, you matter, and we're going to prove it by putting steel and cement in your hands. That's why the distinction between immediate relief, that is food, water, clothing, toppling, and a long-term rebuilding, materials and foundation building matter so much. Immediate relief keeps people alive. Long-term rebuilding keeps them human. I want to talk directly to the diaspora here, to anyone watching this who left the Caribbean, Africa, or any country that shaped them. There is a thing we do. We live, we survive, we sometimes thrive, and then we compartmentalize our origins. We talk about the islands or the continent with a weird distance, like it's a place we visit, not a place that made us. But disasters like Hurricane Melissa force a reckoning. They force us to ask, what does it mean to be from somewhere if that somewhere is actively suffering and I'm not there? Sometimes some of us feel guilt, some of us feel helplessness, some of us feel angry that we are expected to have resources or energy to help when we're already navigating the darkness of diaspora life, the discrimination, the double consciousness, the constant code switching. All of those feelings are valid, but here's what also true: we have something people in Jamaica don't right now: access, stability, economic mobility. And while that doesn't mean we're obligated to save anyone, it doesn't mean we have capacity to participate in the building. So Spicer didn't wait until she was comfortable. She didn't wait until all her own trauma was healed. She saw people suffering and said, from homelessness to greatness is not just my slogan, it is what I'm going to do. That's the diaspora role. Not saviorism, not charity from a distance, but solidarity. Showing up, being inconvenienced, redirecting resources towards family. Hurricane Melissa destroyed infrastructure, but what it really destroyed was continuity. For people in Jamaica, it severed the narrative that said, I'm building something, I'm making progress, I'm stable. That narrative is everything. When you live in a country where economic stability is fragile and political systems often fail people, and for diaspora people, it severed the fiction that we could maintain distance, that we could be from Jamaica, not of Jamaica, that our success sometimes else meant we didn't have to think about people suffering where we came from. But here's the thing, guys, actually rebuilding, changes that. When the diaspora people show up and say, we are donating materials, we are putting in work, we are building back, it rebuilds a relationship, it rebuilds identity, it rebuilds the narrative that says we are stronger together. That's not charity, that's reciprocal humanity. So where does this leave us, guys? As I come to the end of this video, I want you to know that Hurricane Melissa didn't just expose infrastructure weaknesses in Jamaica, it exposed the diaspora's fragmented relationship with home. It showed us this, that some of us mobilize instantly, like Spice, and others default to silence or guilt scrolling. The unfinished obligation is this: we need to decide what diaspora identity actually means. Does it mean we have ongoing responsibility to people we left? Not necessarily legal responsibility, but relational responsibility. And I think for most of us, the answer is yes. We don't get to extract value from our origins, our culture, our resilience, our identity without acknowledging that origins are vulnerable. And here's the practical part: you don't need to be Grammy nominated artist with a foundation to participate in rebuilding. You can donate directly, you can amplify voices like Spices, you can ask your family members in Jamaica what they actually need, because outside aid often misses the mark. You can hold governments accountable for disaster preparedness. You can refuse to participate in the aesthetic consumption of the Caribbean while ignoring its crises. But most importantly, you can stop treating home as a place you're from and start treating it as a place you're connected to. That shift from the abstract identity to active responsibility is where real change happens. Hurricane Melissa is still happening. Families are still rebuilding. Electricity is still down in half the island. The work isn't finished, and the diaspora's obligation is to show up materially, relationally, and emotionally. It is just the beginning. That's the real work. Not guilt, not charity, but family business. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.